Welcome back, Tim, to the show. Good to have you here.
Always a pleasure, Chris. This is when we talk about what we're going to do next, I get excited about it, and this is going to be a fun episode.
Yeah, me too. I feel the same way. So today we're going to talk about the Def Leppard EP and Def Leppard's first album, On Through the Night. So I have the version from the Volume 1 box set, which is like a gatefold. This was like supposed to be an exclusive gatefold to Australia on the original LP. So they did a replica of it here. So that's really cool to have like this mini LP version of it.
That's cool. I don't the version of On Through the Night I found is used, of course, and it doesn't have the original sleeve in it, so I don't have the lyrics. It just came in a white paper sleeve, and it's a U.S. Mercury pressing, but it is cool how they reprinted the back cover too. I like I like how they did the logo on the triangle here,
and I've
it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. They'd revisit that, right? I mean, Hysteria is a triangle. Pyromania is kind of a triangle.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how they kind of stuck with that basic idea. But I think it's cool that we're talking about this period because they changed almost immediately after this.
Yep, absolutely.
So this early stuff is kind of its own thing.
Yeah, that's very true. And the only version I have of the Def Leppard EP is this little 3-inch mini disc, which came in the Volume 1 box set. So this does have the entire EP on it. So that's kind of a cool thing. This is the only like mini type disc I have. So because they're not very common.
No.
So that's cool to see.
Yeah. Now the version, this is the 2018 Record Store Day
2017, I think
version. Yeah, that I was lucky enough to find this, and it's a reprint. It's a really well done reprint, but yeah, I don't have any of the original versions. And
the only thing about that one is that they didn't spell Steve Clark's name correctly. It's spelled with an E at the end on Clark.
They fixed it. They fixed it on the reissue, and of course this also this also has Frank Noon on drums. And I remember that day finding this. The store that I was at only had three copies of this, and I watched the first two disappear before my eyes, and I happened to be the next in line to grab this. And the person that was like 2 or 3 people behind me said, "That's the only reason I came today." So it was I wish that they would. The Record Store Day started out as fun, but if there's going to be a demand for things, it would be nice if they would, make it a semi-regular thing that you can just get, so that you don't get the eBay flippers and stuff. But I don't know. Apparently, Joe, I think this was Joe's concept, this album cover, and my understanding that it was a play on the RCA Records logo, which has a dog listening to, but this plays on the whole, he can't hear, he's a Def Leppard. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And I love the black and white. It wouldn't have been the same. And I know that would have been just out of necessity because it's cheaper to print in black and white, but it's so cool that this, a lot of bands around this time, like talking about the new wave of British heavy metal, they were doing this sort of thing. Like Diamond Head, the band Diamond Head, their first album was just plain white because their manager had all this spare cardboard. So this so it was a do-it-yourself thing. It's just that in Def Leppard's case, they went on to become a huge band. So that left these very, very small amounts of records press that became, obviously huge collectibles in the years to come.
Yeah. And it's very interesting you brought that up with the cost and everything, that they did print them this EP themselves, the original issue of it. So they did 100 copies, I think, and it did have like this insert with it with the lyrics. And it's very interesting because Joe actually like printed off this lyric sheet on his like lunch break.
Yep.
And him and his mom like glued the sleeves together.
Yep.
His dad funded the whole project, and he like probably 150 pounds or something. In today's money, that's like 700 pounds and something like that. So his father funded the whole thing. Joe and his mom did the sleeve and glued everything together. So it's very personal in some ways. And that's probably why, because it's both limited and the story behind it, why the original pressing is so expensive. It's super rare. It's super expensive. You can't barely find it on the internet even. So there's nothing on Discogs as far as I know. So, and if it is like one copy maybe, and it's ridiculous money. So
it's like one person has it. I always look at it when something's on sale for like thousands of dollars. One person's got it that says, I really don't want to sell this, but if somebody's willing to pay it, I'd be a fool not to. So they just kind of put it up there and forget about it. That's what I think. I don't know. I was really excited to get this because I'd seen pictures of it, right? And I'm perfectly satisfied with this reprinted version.
And I think also that the 2017 Record Store Day version was like the first in like many, many years. I think the most recent pressing before that was in 89 or something.
I think that. There's three different my friend David Church that actually has a great book out now called Church of Leppard. I think he's got there's three different colors of the.
There's a yellow label, there's the silver label, there's the red label.
Red label, yeah.
And the interesting with the silver label one is that they actually flipped the songs. It's the only version that opens with Get Your Rocks Off instead of Ride Into the Sun, which is very interesting because it states in this book, actually, that at the time that they did that pressing, Get Your Rocks Off was popping off. It was really popular during that particular time. That's why they changed the track listing order for just that pressing, which is very interesting. I didn't know that. So I just reread some of the stuff in here, and it does state that they did change it. So,
Chris, what book is that you have there?
It's part of this box set here.
Oh, okay, I've got to get that. That's been on my that's kind of been on my radar for a while. I've just never gotten around to getting it.
And the vinyl version is like super expensive.
That's the problem.
The CD version is also very expensive now because it's out of print, so it's like $150 or something. Super expensive.
Hopefully they reissue it.
Yeah.
Or it would be cool if they reissued the EP by itself. I was kind of hoping when the vinyl reissue came out that they'd do a CD version of it too. But But sometimes these things are just it just shows how in demand, and the loyalty of the fans. Unfortunately, like I said, you've got the eBay flippers who know this. And they try to get there first, which is, I don't know. I've always kind of joked, but not kind of half jokingly said, if you're going to line up for a record store day or anything and get something like this, you should have to answer a questionnaire, like really deep, like really, really in-depth questions about Def Leppard. It's like, how big a fan are you? And if you can't answer them, said, well, you're not a fan, so you can't, but that's like anything. It's like ticket scalpers. It's hard to, I don't know how you'd ever
or people wearing t-shirts of bands they never heard before, like
that too. That
has become a trend, like on social media. Name 5 songs of the band.
That's kind of in a way it's kind of silly, but at the same time there's some people just say, hey, I like the design on that shirt, and they don't really think of for me, I like, people like us, we're like, that's a cool shirt. And then you're just automatically thinking of all these really deep, nerdy facts about whatever band it is.
And I never understand like why people are so against that, because people like in the old days bought albums because of the covers. Sometimes you just looked at the cover and thought, like, this looks really cool. I want to buy this. I don't know what it sounds like. I know nothing about the band. But I do want to hear this because the cover looks really cool. So I don't know what people's problem is, because if you buy a shirt and you think like the design is cool, you should be able to wear it anywhere.
And you're advertising, like whether you know it or not, you're advertising. I don't know how many times, and I'm not even familiar with the group, but the group Joy Division. I don't know how many times I've seen their album cover that looks like it's got I don't even know how to describe it. It's got like polygraph waves. It's like it's a very, very striking design. No text on it at all, and I'm sure most people that buy it don't even know that it's an album cover.
Yeah.
But I'll bet you people have seen that, and then subconsciously maybe they'll be at a record store like, oh, that's that shirt that such and such was wearing. I should buy this.
Yeah.
You never know. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I've seen lots of like Pyromania shirts in recent years. I think like a lot of chain stores like over here, Walmart, will just carry random shirts, right? And why not? Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, getting back to Def Leppard, getting back to the EP. So the first song, I think, is just a highlight of the early period, Right Into the Sun. Such a great song, and I understand why they did re-record it, because and they did like multiple versions. There was the original on the EP. There was like the 87 version, which was a B-side on the Hysteria single.
Yeah.
Then there also was on Retroactive, which changed a bit. Some of the in the intro.
And but yeah, Ian Hunter playing a piano intro.
Yeah,
the rest of it is pretty much the same as the 87 version.
So there's like 3 versions. But,
oh yeah.
So, but I think the original is the best. Absolutely.
It was really cool to hear, because I found the Hysteria 45 probably 1989. And that's the first time I heard. I found that one and Pour Some Sugar on Me at the same time. So that was the first time I heard Ride Into the Sun, and then Ring of Fire, which I also love. Oh. And I knew from reading magazines at the time, I knew Ride Into the Sun was a remake of an older song of theirs. But the first time I heard it was on the EP, and it's much faster. It's different, but yeah, it's a great. It's a great song, and it's interesting that. This EP that's so in demand. It's got 3 songs on it. That's it. It's just people they got to have it. And the other 2 songs, of course, are versions of songs that were ended up on the album, but they're different, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, Right Into the Sun, such a highlight. Very, very good song. I think you're also fond of it, Tim.
Very much. Yeah. I like both versions, but it's cool to hear where it came from.
Yeah.
It's like Whitesnake re-recording like Fool for Your Love and Here I Go Again. You can like both versions, but usually the one that you're going to know the most is the first one you heard. So in my case, it's the 87 version that just starts off with the drums. Because I remember when I got Retroactive, I was so glad, because at that time that was, okay, great. I've got all of these Hysteria B-sides on, most of them on CD now. But it's not quite the same. I heard that da 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 da. I'm like, okay, that's different.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Get Your Rocks Off, and it's kind of interesting that they did change the titles of both Get Your Rocks Off and the Overture, because on the On Through the Night album, it's just Overture, and Rocks Off.
Yeah.
So they kind of changed the titles.
Yeah.
But I think Get Your Rocks Off, really good. On this version, you don't have like the fake crowd that you do have on the night.
Yeah.
And I do prefer without the crowd, because it's the same thing with like King of Rock and Roll on Sacred Heart by Dio. So unnecessary, because a song like that and Get Your Rocks Off really does have a lot of energy in the beginning. So you don't need like a fake crowd to hype you up. So I think it's so unnecessary. But I get it, it's fine. I don't have a huge problem with it.
Bands do that sometimes as part of it's. What it's interesting, because there's a couple other songs that come to mind that do that. One is Aerosmith, and on their second album, they cover "Train Kept a Rollin'," which was a Yardbirds song. It's actually a cover when the Yardbirds did it too. But there's a part where it stops up, and then you hear this crowd noise. That wasn't recorded live. That was put in, and Rush do it on The Spirit of Radio when Geddy sings Concert Halls. But by doing that on the studio version, it's almost like you're prepping the crowd. Here's where you cheer.
Yeah.
Because they want to be part of it, right? But yeah, that's true. I actually never thought about that they added the crowd noise on the On Through the Night version. It's really cool. And also, like we talked about, I don't know if it's the exact same version, but This CD is called New Wave of British Heavy Metal 79 Revisited. This came out in 1990, and this was compiled by Jeff Barton, who was a famous UK rock writer for, I think, Kerrang, and Lars Ulrich from Metallica. Because, I mean, Metallica, that's where I first heard tell of the new wave of British heavy metal, because they were always talking about bands like Diamond Head. And really, of all the bands that sprung up in the UK around that time, the late 70s, early 80s, only Def Leppard and Iron Maiden went on to, you know, huge success. But this compilation that came out has an early version of, they're calling it Get Your Rocks Off too. And there's an old picture of them right here on the cover.
All right, that's cool.
I'll get the booklet out here so you don't get the glare.
That looks similar to one of the photos in this book I have here. Let's see if I can find it.
There probably wouldn't be too many photos kicking around from such an early period.
There's maybe like from the same show.
Same show, I imagine. Yeah, they look to be dressed the same. But yeah, that's when I found that, it was like, oh, good, I've got a good CD quality version of that. I just thought that throw that in.
Yeah, I think like the riff in Get Your Rocks Up, it just kicks on like so hard in the beginning. And the version on the Def Leppard EP are maybe a couple BPM slower than the On Through the Night version.
Yeah.
I do like how fast it is on Through the Night, because it's really energetic. You have the fake crowd if you're into that sort of stuff. So it's really, really energetic and fast. But I do like this version too. But I feel both Get Your Rocks Off and the Overture, I feel like the versions on Through the Night are more polished and just the essential versions.
They're more realized, right? Like they've kind of sanded off the edges. And and Overture is really cool for a lot of reasons, because it's kind of a little epic of the song. You don't normally have... That's very unlike later Def Leppard to come. I've read once that somebody thought that with that acoustic intro, it kind of reminded them of Yes, and I would have never thought about that. But I also think it's interesting that usually Overture is the beginning of something, and yet it's the last song on the album. And one thing, like over the years, like I've been into Def Leppard since, you know, for years and years and years, and it's only been kind of in recent years that I've been getting into Thin Lizzy, who I know were a huge influence on a lot of bands, but Def Leppard's always talked about Thin Lizzy. They covered Don't Believe a Word on the Yeah album. But when it goes into that twin lead on Overture, like da-da-da-down, da-da-da-down, that's very Thin Lizzy, the twin lead harmony. Like that, it doesn't sound like any one Thin Lizzy song, but you can tell, like, oh man, that's obviously what they were going for. As a matter of fact, one of the most direct influences, I think, besides Don't Believe a Word, if you listen to a song on Thin Lizzy's 1975 album called Fighting, there's a song called Spirit Slips Away. The first few notes of that song sound almost exactly the same as Switch 625.
Interesting.
Like, it's like, well, that's where they got it from. They didn't copy it directly, but that was the inspiration. But yeah, Overture is, I love it. And I love it how it goes back into the acoustic intro. It's so different for them. And that's what I like about it. And I like the, I don't know if it's vocals or if it's synthesizers, but there's a choral effect that you get that. But that's really, really cool. I mean, you just marvel at when you think of how young these guys were when they recorded not just the EP, but when they were in a recording studio with Tom Allen working on Through the Night. It's pretty amazing. And Rick Allen, man, that guy, I mean, what he was doing with a single bass pedal, and like, he was a fantastic drummer. I think people forget about that. They always think of him like, isn't it amazing he plays drums with one arm? Like, no, like, he was an amazing drummer. And I think he still is, but it's like, obviously there's things he can't do now, but he was really, really good. Like his drum fills and being able to keep up, like you said, Get Your Rocks Off, like the keeping up that beat with the bass pedal. And I don't know, I just think it's pretty cool. But yeah, I love Overture because it's so different. Joe's voice, of course, changed a lot between the first album and the second album.
Very much so. Yeah.
The first thing I ever heard from on through the night. Like I really got it. Of course, I got into Def Leppard with the Hysteria era. But On Through the Night was the last of the 4 albums that I needed to get. So I got them all right around the same time. But On Through the Night was the last one. But before that, they put out a home video called Historia, which had all of their music videos up till that point. And the first thing on it is a version of Hello America from Top of the Pops, which didn't actually air, but my understanding is that they filmed it because it looked like it might crack the top 50. And if it did, they would have played it. It didn't, but they had it filmed anyway. That's the first thing I ever heard from On Through the Night.
Yeah. And that's kind of interesting. You mentioned Top of the Pops and all that. I don't know if it's the same thing you're mentioning, but there is like a show that was called Top Pop only. Like
that's different, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. And that was like a Dutch show or something like that. Top of the Pops is like the British version. But
long-running show in the UK.
So I know it's different, but they did do a performance of Hello America on there too. Yeah. And if you look at the picture on the front cover of the early years box set, that photo was taken during that performance or during that recording. So you see Joe with the shirt with the hearts on everything.
Yeah.
And, all the other people in the band are dressed very interestingly. So that's really cool because I just looked up some of the videos because I'm not the person that really watches many music videos or live videos, stuff like that. But I did do some research before this, and it was interesting to see some of the earlier stuff.
Yeah,
Hello American, Wasted, played live. Really interesting.
Is that the same show? Because I know there's some early footage of them doing Satellite.
Yeah, I've not seen that actually.
Yeah, because I remember seeing there was a show. There was a special that came out in the UK, I think, in 1989. And I knew about it, but I didn't actually get to see it until YouTube. But it was like an hour-long documentary on Def Leppard. And one of the things that like they were there talking to Rick Allen in the field where he had his accident. That was pretty emotional. But earlier than that, they're showing live footage, and there was footage of them doing Satellite. And I'm like, wow, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that it was really for fans at the time, because like there was such a gap between Hysteria and Adrenalize. You could see Phil in the studio playing Stand Up, Kick Love into Motion, whereas people would be like, what song is that? That must be a new song. Anyway, but that early footage is, not only did they sound good on album, they were a great live band. Like they just kind of had it down immediately, right?
Yeah.
One of the cool things that I always thought was funny about the Hello America footage was that the way they had it set up, Rick's drums are out front, everybody else is behind him.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did it that way, but
yeah, interesting. Yeah, so if you're looking for a really, really good live performance during this time, like the Oxford show at the New Theatre that they released in the early years box set, they also did a Record Store Day version of it too on LP. That's really, really good. It sounds great, and the performances are amazing. They performed like early versions of Rock Till You Drop called Medicine Man. Let It Go is called When the Rain Falls. Yeah. Like super interesting to
don't they do Lady Strange too?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. And it's amazing that early stuff exists and in such good quality too.
Yeah. So that's a really good show if you're really into the very early period of Def Leppard. So yeah. But now getting into the album, On Through the Night, such a great first effort for this band. Very young band. The EP was great, Right Into the Sun, obviously, but then they redid the other 2 songs on this, and I think it's such a great result because it's such a great album. I think the opener, Rock Brigade, classic for me at least. Just love the harmony vocals on this, the opening guitar riff, super catchy, just everything about it. Like almost also the part in the chorus, it sounds like someone like stepping, footsteps, or maybe clapping.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to sound like marching.
Yeah.
Here comes the Rock Brigade, you know?
Yeah, really, really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, production touches, right? Like, and that's, to me, that's where you get that, and the harmonies. That's, I think, where you get the Queen influence,
Yeah,
possibly Sweet, the band Sweet. But yeah, not only were they talented as far as musically, but their vocal harmonies, they were always great. Like, they always had that stacked vocal harmony sound, even before Mutt Lange was in the picture. I can see why Mutt Lange would have seen them and think, this is a band I can work with.
yeah. That they have potential.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
a lot of potential.
People kind of give this album crap and say it sounds bad or not as good as the rest. Maybe that's true, but I don't feel that way. I think this sounds pretty good, pretty solid.
It's well
Produced by-
recorded.
Produced by Tom Allom, and
Yep.
he also produced some of the Judas Priest stuff.
Their biggest albums. I mean, yeah, that run British
Yeah,
Steel and Screaming for Vengeance. Yeah, he produced Y&T and Rock We Trust. Yeah, he's, you know, now you can tell that this was a lower budget recording.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a good recording. Everything's clear. There's no tape hiss. There, you know, everything. Yeah. You can hear all the instruments clear. No, I think it's a fine recording. What's funny is that people that don't like, you know, the Pyromania Hysteria, like the pop, they'll call it the pop years for Def Leppard, only like this album by Def Leppard.
Yeah.
And yet there are people this is one that they don't like, but I love it. I mean, like I said, this was the first one for me to get. I was very, very familiar with the other three by this time, and I knew Hello America, and I loved this album from the beginning. Even I knew it was different. It's like, well, it's their first album. It's going to sound different. I just didn't really think anything of it. I think there's great songs in this. I even like the cover. Like, I think the cover is cool. You know, it's been parodied. I've seen covers that kind of do a tribute to this. Like I said, I like the logo, the way the logo's in the triangle like that. And it's a cool live shot of the band. I didn't see this until I got the I only had the cassette for many years. Until I got the CD. I'd never seen this photo before, but it's a really cool photo of them on stage. And I think Joe Elliott would tell you that's one of his mother's shirts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and like another thing that Rick Allen did that you can tell, like in this photo, he loved his tom-tom fills. And Rock Brigade's a good example of like he loved doing that. So, you know, really insanely talented band. I've always wondered too, the license plate on this truck says 2MS 180.
Yeah.
I've not know this, but I don't know if there's any significance behind that. The only thing I can figure is that it came out in 1980. That might be the 80 part of it, but I don't. Other than that, I don't. It's just a guess. Somebody out there might know, but
probably just a random bunch of letters and numbers just bunched together. So but we talked some about the sound. I think the next song, Hello America, I don't know if it's just present on this remaster, because I've had the original LP, but I can't remember, because that version, that particular copy I had was worn out. It was like the grooves were actually worn out. So it sounded kind of bad. So when I had that, I understood why people said it sounded really bad. But this version sounds really good. And I have had like an older CD version that sounds also really good.
Yeah.
So that was probably just my copy being worn out. But there is some distortion on this, at least on this version, on Hello America. In the chorus on Joe's voice, it kind of distorts.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's present on your copy too.
I know what you mean. It's a little, you know, in the recording business, they'd call it's a little hot, like the meter's a little pinned. But, you know, they're budget constraints, time constraints. They must have thought, you know what, the performance is good. We're gonna let it slide.
Yeah. And I have to be honest, I think this is a really, really solid album. But Hello America is probably one of my least favorites on the album. I just think it's repetitive. The chorus is kind of annoying, especially when it's just repeated at the end. Don't like it that much. I've been a bigger fan of it before, but now I think it's not as good as it was before, I feel. But what do you think about Hello America?
Well, it's not my favorite song in the album, but I've always had a soft spot for it because it was the first thing that I heard, and I saw that video on the Historia, because when that home video came out, that was an event. It was like finally all their videos in one place. At that time, bands would put out home videos after an album had been out for a while, but they were usually like a half an hour long, and they'd only have 4 or 5 videos on them. This was stacked. There was information in between each one talking about, you know, the making of them, so you'd be looking for things. That's why I don't know if I would have really clued in that Rick's drums are up front on this. There's some weird lighting in it too, but it's cool to see the band so young doing that. But one thing I find is funny about it is the synthesizer in the chorus. Like it's got that repeating. And let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah, somebody named Chris M. Hughes plays the synthesizer on this, which Def Leppard were never like, they had keyboards, but it was always kind of in the background, like for textures. This is like front and center, and you can't ignore it. So I love the riff, though. I think the riff is so good. So I like it, but I think there are better songs in here. I've got the this is actually I think a French single of Hello America, and the reason I bought this is because it's got Good Morning Freedom on the back of it, which was this is not something from, I like the way these singles look too, these silver injection labels.
Yeah, and that's the way the Def Leppard EP with the silver label I mentioned earlier. It kind of looks like that.
Probably they wanted to recreate
label. Yeah.
The first time I heard Good Morning Freedom was on the Viva Hysteria live when they opened for themselves, Dead Flatbird. And it's a good song. I mean, it would have fit right in on Through the Night, and they could have made it a 12-song album, but it's kind of neat to have that sort of an extra thing to go out there and find. But it's a perfectly good song. Recorded, I think it was recorded at the same, it was all recorded at the same time. It's like, I know at the time when you were cutting vinyl, and they ran into this with Hysteria, it's like, well, if you go past a certain time period or time length, your recording is going to suffer. You lose a little high end, and you know when you listen back. So they probably said, "Look, you're going to have to drop a song," and I guess that was the song. But it's a good song.
Yeah, I love that song, and I always love that breakdown where you just have the drums, and then you have the guitar. I just love that.
Yeah. If anybody hasn't heard it and you're familiar with On Through the Night, you know, look for Good Morning Freedom. It fits right in there with that album. It's a heavy, fast song for Def Leppard.
Yeah, I think Glad I'm Alive is also like a song you should check out if you're not familiar with it.
That's a good, it would have been nice to get a better, you know, a professionally recorded version of that one too. I always liked that one.
Yeah. And I have to mention also the version on that single is also different to the album version. Same thing goes with Wasted. They also that version is also different on the single compared to the On Through the Night album. And those single versions sound a bit raw. They are on other vocal takes and the rest of the music too. So they are not like just altered a bit, because they are completely different recordings or takes or whatever. So kind of interesting to hear, but I do prefer the versions on the album. I think they're more refined, more polished, and everything.
I wonder if that was a case where the record label was like, I'm pretty sure in the case of Wasted, they were out on tour. They were either opening for AC/DC or Sammy Hagar at the time. So I think if you have the Wasted single, I don't, but the 40, it's got like a boot on it, like a satin boot. They probably said, we need a single out. And they were not finished the album. They're like, well, here. So they gave him that take of Wasted.
Yeah.
That might be why there's a difference.
Yeah. Now the next song, Sorrow is a Woman. Such a great song. I've always liked like how the energy changes a lot in the song. You have the more intense, louder parts, and you have the more quieter parts. And I always like the voice, Joe's voice in the quieter parts and the slower parts. Really good. I do think Joe's voice is still not as developed as it became later. I think just the leap from On Through the Night to High and Dry is so huge. It's just crazy. And that really does show you how much Lang actually pushed him to get better.
And he pushed him to sing.
It sounds good on this album too, but not as good as High and Dry and Forward.
I think that Mutt recognized that you can sing in a higher register than you do. You know, you give it more Give it more gas.
And more rasp also.
Much more rasp, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a really cool song. I suppose it's the closest thing on this album to a ballad, even though it's not really a ballad. Yeah. But certainly the slower parts, it's definitely the because really most of this album, it doesn't let up. It's, you know, pretty slamming all the way through. And so is this song. You know, it's got the sort of a mellower voice, and I love the guitar solo. Especially when the twin lead, like that, like, oh, I love that. But when the chorus comes on, it's like dun 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 dun, like, you know, it's a rocking song, and it's really cool. Again, great showcase for those harmonies, those harmony vocals. I mean, they all sang. They all so, you know, years later, you'd hear Vivian Campbell say, "Def Leppard is a rock band that can sing." It's not one guy, and then all the background vocals are just that one guy doubled, right? Very talented, right from the get-go.
But I do have to say, on the chorus, there's like I think it's the second chorus when he sings, "You know the sorrow is a woman, you know she'll make you feel sad.
Yeah.
You know the sorrow is a woman comes again," and he sings "woman."
Yeah.
And it sounds kind of weak. He's just "woman."
Yeah,
it sounds really strange.
It's probably the closest that he would come to the way he would approach his vocals later, but it's not quite there yet.
Yeah,
it's cool to it's cool to hear. You can hear where things would go, but yeah, it was probably not ready for that. But
yeah,
it's in key, but yeah, it's a little shaky.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. He like barely hits it, but
yeah.
The next one, "It Could Be You." Also, not the biggest fan of this one, to be honest. Also, a really fast one. But
there's one thing I think that would make this song a lot better, and you're probably thinking the same thing as me.
What were you thinking?
If they took away the you, me.
Yeah,
it's almost like, hey, we just bought this Echoplex or whatever it is, and we got to use this in the song. It kind of dates it. Yeah, it's a rocking song. Yeah, and it's definitely. Another it's 2.5 minutes, like 2:33. It's a short little one,
something like that.
And it's sort of like rocks off. It's got a busy little riff. It's very busy.
Always love that. Yeah.
What song is it? No, it's Oh no, it's not this song. I'm thinking of Answer to the Master. I'm thinking of I think it's Answer to the Master.
Where it goes really good.
That's Answer to the Master. Yeah, that's Answer to the Master. But
I love that.
But no, It Could Be You. It Could Be You. It's 2:33. I'm glad it's not any longer. I like it, but yeah, I remember playing this for a friend of mine who, Def Leppard fan. He just never heard On Through the Night. He goes, "What's up with the echo?" And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I also think this is a song where it's actually too high of a key for Joe at this time.
Oh, right,
especially in the chorus.
Right.
Yeah,
like it's like he wasn't ready. He was not ready. Maybe that's why they put the echo in to sort of distract from that. I don't know, but that's another thing I don't understand. It's like, well, dude, this is your song. Just sing it differently. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Now the next one I absolutely love, Satellite.
This might be
a good song.
This is one of my favorites on the album. I think it's one of the smartest written songs. That the chord changes are so cool. Oh yeah, there's so many parts in this. I think this is one of the best songs by far.
And I think the solo, I have to mention, in this song and some of the other songs, but especially this one, the solo in this, it's like, it sounds kind of sloppy in some ways. It's really messy solo, but I do love it. Like, that's not a criticism at all. It's a praise. Like, I love how fast, aggressive, kind of messy it does sound. And I feel the same way about many of the solos on the album. Such great solos. And I don't know if it's Steve Clark or Pete Willits.
I was just going to say, I think that when you hear the really fast, like sort of quote unquote heavy metal stuff, I think that's Pete.
Yeah.
Steve, I would say, like, you know, the Sorrow Was a Woman, that's probably Steve. That's
Because
just a
Pete
guess.
Willis was like the metalhead
He
of the
was the
group.
Judas Priest, yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted the band. I think he would have been perfectly happy to keep sounding like a heavier band.
Some people would, to your point, some people would actually say like after Pyromania, because Pete Willis was part of some of the
He's all over
songwriting.
Pyromania. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he was part of the songwriting on that album. So many people say like Hysteria Forward, they lost the heaviness. That's true.
You can't argue with that, but I think it was by choice. It was definitely by choice. They always wanted to have, they always said they never wanted to be playing clubs all their lives. They wanted to be playing stadiums. They wanted to make music that pleased like
they want a more commercial appeal, and they did have that during the Hysteria Forward. So
that's the other thing about like telling people about this album. It's like you always hear people talking about how heavy it is. It's heavier for Def Leppard. It's still melodic. All of these songs, you hear them.
It's definitely very heavy.
Though. But you still get the songs in your head. You still remember how they go. They're still writing hooks.
Yeah.
But Satellite is so good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Just love the song. And they have this, in the very beginning, they have this strange kind of sound effect in the beginning of it. Sounds really cool. Yeah. And then you have the guitar riff going.
I like Rick's. And I like the after the guitar solo. Wait a minute, no, it's before the guitar solo. It's like the part where it's just yes, it's burning. Can't you see that it's burning? It's got this clean guitar part. So they were already using those dynamics. It wasn't all like distorted guitars all the time. But then the chord, and you're right, the solo kicks in. It's just. I
think the part you're talking about is actually just before the lyrics that you just mentioned, and right after the solo. So it's between those two.
But it adds a dynamic to that song. It's not just it doesn't just slam all the way through. But this is something that bands like they understand that if you're heavy all the time, sooner or later it loses its heaviness. But if you pull back a little bit, and then you come back in with the final chorus, and everything ramps up again. It makes it more dramatic, and it really emphasizes that. Whoa, that's so cool. But yeah, Satellite is overall in their career. It's probably one of their most overlooked songs. Nobody talks about it. It's a fantastic song, and again, it's a song that illustrates just how talented these. I mean, the median age of these guys in 1980 would probably have been 19.
Yeah,
and they sound
15.
And they sounded like they'd been playing for a decade or more.
Yeah,
like they sounded really tight and together.
And that's something that really did surprise me when I heard like the Live at Oxford live album, because I think Joe sounds better on that live album than he does in the studio.
They're just growing.
Really,
The more shows that they get under their belts.
Yeah, and that's also closer to what he became with the High and Dry period. So it's closer to that than the release of this album. So so that's really cool. The next song, When the Walls Came Tumbling Down, really good too. I really do like this one.
Yeah,
this has this like dramatic beginning with this like voiceover type thing.
Yeah.
So I think that really builds up the tension of the song. And then, of course, Joe comes in with the lyrics and everything. And then it's like drops down. And then it just starts off with the drums and the riff. And it's just so cool that they kind of build this dramatic tension. And it kind of slows down. And then it just drops. And it's so dramatic and so intense and so cool. Just love it.
The intro, the narration is by a guy named Dave Cousins, and I want to say that he was in a band called, I think I got this right, Straubs. I think like straw with a B, Straubs. I think they were a progressive band. I could be wrong. I know it's Dave Cousins, but I could be wrong with the band he's from. I don't know how, unless Tom Allom knew him. But this and Overture are probably the most out of character songs for Def Leppard. What they would do later, because that's very heavy metal to have a narration And then, like you said, once that kicks in and the verses, like it's got that Iron Maiden gallop to it, and they never did that. This is kind of its. It wouldn't surprise me if this was a very, very early song for them. It's one of the first they ever wrote. I'm not sure. It's cool. I really like it. And if you were to put this song onto a grid, it would ruin it. I think because the tempo needs to breathe in this song, because it changes tempo so many times. Even if you listen to the first chorus and then you listen to the last chorus, it speeds up as the song goes along. There's so much energy to it. Great guitar solos. And I like the, as it gets to the end, you hear down, down, down.
Yeah.
It's cool. I remember listening to this and thinking, this would never, ever get on the radio, but boy, I like it. I like it.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm looking at the lyrics right now, and there's a part where, let's see, a national suicide was proclaimed, and you have the drums. Yeah, I just love that with the guitar. And
New America fell to the ground.
Yeah.
That's it's such a heavy metal lyric.
Yeah, I kind of love like the stop and start part with the drums and the guitar. Like such a great song. Just love it so much. So yeah, I think this is really when the album really picks up.
Oh, like, and the riff that comes in halfway through to like, there's so many highlights.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this song, Satellite, and the next one we're going to talk about blows like It Could Be You and Hello America out of the water. I think Wasted is the next one. Such a great song.
Yeah,
I think it's just like the lyrics are really basic, like talking about getting wasted and everything, and it's so good. Like there's so many songs about these basic rock and roll themes, about drinking, about all partying, all this sort of stuff. But I think this really do work, because this is not like we're gonna party all night and have fun type of song. So I do think this works really well, and just the riff,
classic.
I just love it so much.
You got the dun dun dun, like
one of the greatest riffs in the Def Leppard's early career.
Probably the best known song from this album, I would say. Absolutely. They still do this live sometimes. And this one, I think, was mostly written by Steve Clark. And to me, that gives a little bit more weight to the lyrics, because you're right. This is not a party song. This is almost like a warning against,
absolutely.
This can take your life. And sadly, Steve Clark died at just the age of 30 at 91. And
that's kind of ironic that he did like write the song and brought this, or at least brought the riff in, I think. Maybe Joe. I
think he wrote all the all the music, and I think Joe.
Yeah, and Joe wrote the lyrics.
Yeah.
So because I think, if I'm remembering this right, this was during the time that they were in this, like, I think it was like a spoon factory or something.
Yeah, that's where they rehearsed. Yeah, there was a spoon factory in Sheffield, and they and I mean, the reason that Joe wrote Hello America is like he'd look at a map. And he's like, I just want to get out of the spoon factory. And they'd look, there's California. I bet it's sunny out there, and it's not. So, but Wasted is like the other side of it. But it's a great song. It's fast. It's quick and to the point. And I would say this is probably the best known song from On Through the Night to the average Def Leppard fan.
Yeah. And one other thing about what you just mentioned, wanting to get out of the spoon factory, wanting to get to America and everything. I think one of the first steps to that was actually playing one of their local theaters or something like that, where Joe actually got a piece of chalk and like wrote Def Leppard will play here in 1980, like in the early days.
I wonder if that was Sheffield City Hall.
I do actually. I think it does say in the book Let me just double check that, because I think it does say here. Yeah, it's entrance to the city hall, probably Sheffield then, because that's
I've
where
seen that later footage where he and I think it's he and Rick Savage go back.
Yeah.
And say, yeah, the stage was there, and yeah, it was cool.
Didn't they do like an interview in the Spoon Factory?
Yes,
yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So Wasted, such a great song. One of the highlights of the early period. I think like Satellite, When the Walls Came Tumbling Down, Wasted, Right Into the Sun from the EP, and one of other from the album that we will get to later. Some of the highlights of the early period. Not mentioning High and Dry, obviously. I mean the very, very early, like 1978, 9,
80.
and 80.
Yeah.
So yeah, such a great song. Now we get to Rocks Off again, but not Get Your Rocks Off, but just Rocks Off this time. As I mentioned before, not much faster, a bit faster on this one than the EP, and I do like it that way. So yeah, what do you feel like this version? Is this better for you, or do you prefer the EP version?
Oh, I definitely prefer the album version. It's the version I've heard the most. It's the version I've heard the longest. Maybe the second best known song off On Through the Night. And they liked writing these sort of twisty riffs. Like they weren't your average riffs, but they were cool and they got right in your head. Yeah, and this song goes through changes because it starts off and it's like a shuffle, like a fast shuffle. But then in the middle of it, it just goes to a straightforward. And I like how it switches from the left and right channel.
Yeah, it's panning from
like it. That means I don't know, but I'm guessing they got that, maybe from Queen or maybe the Beatles, but like just using the stereo. And when I used to listen to cassettes all the time, I had a little like cheap Walkman, and the left headphone would always go out, so I'd only hear half of that. So it would be like, I'd only ever get half of it until I actually got the CD and listened to it. I'm like, oh, that's actually how it goes. Or listen to it on a regular stereo. Like, that's actually how it sounds. But it's a great song, and it's got so much energy. And, this is a party song for them. This is the party, have a good time song. Joe's vocal is like totally enthusiastic on this one. Again, getting closer to the voice that he would become known for, that higher, raspy voice. And when it's a faster song, you can kind of get away with maybe you didn't quite reach the note, or maybe you overshot. You don't notice it so much when it's so fast and just kind of, going by like that. But yeah, the fake crowd is like, thank you, good night, woohoo! Like, and yet it's a fake. It's like pretend there's an audience there, Joe.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, really good version of the song. Now the next one, It Don't Matter. I actually do think this is one of the most underrated Def Leppard songs.
It's not the one that first comes to mind, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Again, it's got one of those twisty riffs, and it's got a little slide guitar, like they didn't do that a lot, but it sounds like a slide. I don't know if it's an actual slide, but they slide up to that note. It's a perfectly good song. It's just I don't think it's quite as good as what's around it, but it's good. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, and I love the parts in the verses when the guitar goes. I just love that.
Oh,
and yeah.
From the start, these guys understood dynamics. They understood arrangement. They were so beyond their years.
Yeah,
and it's really cool that look, there's a reason that they, with all of the bands that are featured on here, there's a reason that they ascended beyond any of that. They were just good. They were just that talented.
Yeah. And I think also in this course, Joe doesn't go beyond his range. He actually stays,
he's right there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it really does work in this song. Yeah. So the next one is probably one of my personal favorites.
Oh,
I just love Answer to
that
the Master.
riff. Like, oh, it just demands that you are going to listen to this now.
Yeah.
It's a mighty riff.
And I think it's just Joe's delivery on this is kind of dramatic in some ways, and I just love it. It really captivates you, and you just want to listen to what he has to say. I think it's just a great song.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And, you know, this song here, I almost wonder if this wasn't like influenced by Dio wasn't solo at this point, but like Dio and Rainbow. I could hear this could have fit on the first couple of Rainbow albums. It's
I've
like
never thought
when the
about
nighttime unfolds, like you could just like it's like can't you just picture Dio singing this?
No, I can. I've never thought about that. That's really interesting.
It's dramatic. Wow. It's like a word of warning. Yeah,
that's really
Magic Mirror. I mean, it sounds like these could be Dio lyrics, and which is probably the one and only time in a Def Leppard song that happens. But yeah, there's so many highlights of this song, and Rick's drums when it's boom, like, and that
just love it,
and that.
The shredding also in it.
Like, yeah, it's such a cool song. I could see like this might be the most metallic Def Leppard song. Like this song, any metal band could cover this, not have to change it at all, and it would be massive. You know, with a bigger production. Like imagine a song like this and this riff played with sort of like a Metallica Black Album production. How massive that would sound like through the speakers. But it's great. It's just great. And I would have to think this was, well, what do the credits say for Answer to the Master? Yeah, it's credited to Willis, Clark, Savage, Elliott. I would imagine Pete had the most to do with this song.
Probably because it's a bit darker and
think about cool. Try to get AI to say have Blackmore's Rainbow recording Answer to the Master, and I think it'd be pretty good.
Cool.
Vivian Campbell, when he does the shows with Last in Line, they should do Answer to the Master.
Oh, good point. Good point. Yeah. The last one, Overture.
Yeah.
So just as good as the EP version, if not better. I do really like this version, and as we mentioned before, I just like Joe's voice on this. You don't hear him sing like this, like in the future albums. So I really do like how different this song is for the Leppard guys. Just really, really good.
Is this the longest song they ever recorded, the studio track? It's 7:39.
Probably, yeah.
I know White Lightning is a long song, but I don't think it's that long.
Yeah, White Lightning, I don't know, maybe 6-7 minutes. Something.
Yeah. This might be I don't know. Somebody out there would probably know right off the top of their head, but this might be the longest studio track.
I think it is. I think it is.
You know, another thing I like is you don't often hear people talk about Rick Savage as a bass player, as a bassist, you know, what he adds. But I like the before the fast part kicks in, it was like do 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 do, like it's very melodic.
Yeah.
The whole song. But yeah, Joe does sing with a sort of it's a different approach. Wonderful harmonies, like the Holy Man part, like the great vocal harmonies.
Yeah.
And it gets heavy. It gets heavy too, and introduces a new riff. Down 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 down, like, and they would do that a lot. The down down and a dun dun, like the stop start kind of thing. But and then how that fades out, and then the acoustic comes back in. It's crazy to me that this album ends very delicately, as again with those harmonies, or maybe the keyboard doing the sort of
like, I love that too.
And if you're only buying the albums, the very next thing you hear is da 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 da. You hear "Let It Go."
Let It Go.
It doesn't sound like the same band when you go from that one song to the other. So what an impressive debut.
Really, really impressive. Yeah. It's really interesting. We did the last episode on Europe and their debut album, and that's also a really impressive effort I think
and different from just about everything that came after it.
Yeah, and I think this is also kind of different to what came after, because
very different.
Even though High and Dry is heavier, they didn't like sound exactly like this later. I feel like Pyromania and Hysteria kind of similar, Adrenalize 2 kind of similar sound to them. But I think this sounds really, really different. This is like the black sheep of the catalog.
Yeah, it's, this album is heavy in sort of an older school, like, well, like I said, like, Dio
heavy
era,
1980 maybe.
Dio era Rainbow, or not that different, maybe Dio era Sabbath, although maybe not quite, because there's a little bit more. I don't know. It's a little bit older sounding. Because Heaven and Hell is a very 80s sounding album to me. Yep. This has more of the late 70s. Like I said, it's got those Thin Lizzy influences, the Queen influences. So it's heavy in parts. But High and Dry is like AC/DC party metal heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, that has a lot to do with Mutt Lange, obviously, as he was working with them. But it's a different kind of heavy. And High and Dry is like High and Dry and Pyromania aren't that different when you really break them down. High and Dry is like a louder version of Pyromania, and High and Dry and Hysteria are very different, but Pyromania has elements of both of them. On Through the Night just stands alone. And the
maybe High and Dry is like Pyromania with less hooks, less like catchy melodies, maybe just more straight ahead hard rock.
Like I think the songs, I think that there are melodies on High and Dry. It's just they're heavy. Like the songs are heavier, but there are melodies, definitely. Songs like Lady Strange, Mirror, Mirror. Mirror, Mirror. I mean, you know, but then, they got stuff like No, 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 which is just, slamming. And then, but the next, I mean, really until Slang, On Through the Night's probably the most out of character sounding Def Leppard album.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where it bears no resemblance to anything that came before or after.
Yeah, very true, very true. So are we gonna wrap this up, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I would encourage anybody, if you're only familiar with Def Leppard as a band that's on the radio all the time, with Pour Some Sugar on Me and Love Bites, and and I love that stuff. But if you think, oh well, yeah, they weren't never really a heavy metal band, you've got to listen to On Through the Night, and you might not like it, but you'll have to give it up and say, well, yeah, that was a heavy album. But I think most people will give this album its props. I can remember way back, again, there's a Metallica influence, but I remember listening to, there used to be a syndicated radio show called Metal Shop. And there was also a magazine, but the radio show came first. But in the summer of '89, I remember listening to it. And Lars Ulrich and Jason Newsted hosted a show, and it was like they were playing like the top 20 metal bands of all time. And they actually played Rocks Off, which was really cool. They recognized that, they weren't strictly heavy metal band after this, but for once, it was this stands up to any metal that was coming out of the UK at the time. So I always thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. One last thing. What do you feel about the direction that Def Leppard is going? Because they never sounded like On Through the Night and High and Dry, especially again. They kind of lost their touch a bit later, especially after Adrenalize. Though we have talked about the later period albums, and I do have some very positive things to say about them. But what do you feel like the direction Def Leppard is going now? What do you want for the next album? Do you want them to go back to like a heavier type of sound on On Through the Night we talked about now, or High and Dry? What do you want?
I mean, obviously I got into the band in the Hysteria era. And so to me, that will always be the gold standard of, what you want a Def Leppard album to sound like. But I really liked the self-titled album. I really liked that album. I thought that was, and I think now, they never ever really wanted to be a heavy metal band, especially now where, you've only got Joe and Sav from the original band, that have been there all the way through. Although, I mean, the rest of the guys, they've been one of the most consistent, they're not a band with a bunch of lineup changes. You know, Vivian's the quote unquote new guy, and he's been there for over 30 years now. Like, they're solid. But I think that if they were ever going to get quote unquote heavy, I don't think you're ever going to get anything heavier than the heaviest thing on Pyromania.
Yeah.
You know, like Billy's Got a Gun or Die Hard the Hunter, or maybe not even that heavy.
Yeah.
Good songs. That's all I want. Good songs the way only they can do, you know?
Yeah.
But I love the fact that in this lengthy career, they've got this one album that's such an outlier, and there was nothing like Slang. Let's face it, Slang was premeditated. They wanted to have a drastic change in their sound. This is just a bunch of young guys writing songs and trying them out. You know, they had nothing to lose, right? And there's nothing to be embarrassed about this album. This is a fantastic start to an amazing career. It just, there's no real growing pains. To me, like, as far as albums, you know, bands that sort of come complete as far as maybe not their sound, but sounding good for what they're doing, this is better than a lot of debut albums.
Yeah, for many bands, it takes a lot of albums to find their direction. I think Def Leppard found their direction very early on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd encourage anybody that hasn't heard this album, or maybe if it's on your shelf and you haven't listened to it in a while, pull it out again, listen to it, because I could be surprised at it. And then try to keep in mind just how young these guys were when they were writing, playing, performing. And like you said, the fact that those early live performances are also good. I mean, it might be one thing for a producer like Tom Allen to get a good recording out of them in the studio, and then you go hear live recordings in the early years and think, oh boy, they were sloppy. No, they really weren't. They had it all down. They had it all together.